back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm excited. It's the first fantasy basketball show of the year. We're just getting our toes wet here. We're not really sure what the whole landscape of this mock draft is going to look like, but we got John hanging out with us today. You guys remember him from last year. He's actually got the first pick, so I'm just going to throw it right to him. Hope you're having a good evening, John. But first pick, what are we doing in fantasy basketball drafts?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I think there are probably, four, maybe five viable candidates for this spot. But I will take Giannis. I think he's pretty great at stacking all of the stats, and expect him to have a desire to, come out and try to dominate again this year, as long as he's healthy. So I like him.
And I mean, we were talking off the air. We were looking at just like the rankings pulled up here. It's a clear top three. I think you can start to play some Jazz round 4, or I guess the 4th overall pick. I mean, you can take a handful of guys here. There's really no clear cut answer as to who number 4 is. So I think if you are still able to pick your draft order this year, like securing a top 3 spot is probably something that I would be very interested in. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind sitting to trying to get to the back end of like 10, 11, 12. Depends on what league size you're playing in. But collecting some of these guys at the back end makes a lot of sense for me too. But here we kind of see everything's kind of chalk here. We see Giannis, Jokic, Doncic, Harden, Karl-Anthony Towns, Steph Curry, Bradley Beal. So John, I'm just curious. Like we were talking about the first round pick here. Are there any picks in the first round that like you don't really think you want on your teams this year?
Not necessarily that I don't want, but I think like a guy like Cat, a guy like, Beal, I think maybe, especially if you're in a shallower, 10-team league, those guys, I think, maybe are better deserved in the second round.
So I'm up to pick at 10. I have 20 seconds left here. For some reason, like I'm not interested in Paul George, even though Kawhi is going to be out most of the year. I think I really like Jason Tatum. This one seems to be the pick that I want to run in for sure with one of my two. But we were looking off the air too at Nikola Vucevic's numbers. Like, is this the spot for the Vuce? Would you take Nikola Vucevic over Joel Embiid at this point? Like, we see some of the 55s, the 56s, 64s. You see some really high upside here, and the Chicago Bulls actually have a pretty decent team that they put together this year. Just does anyone stick out to you at this pick, or should I just run Trae Young in?
I do like Embiid a lot, especially with probably the likely departure, or at least 0 minutes of Ben Simmons on the court.
So it's tough. I don't know if I want one of the centers. For me, I know I'm not going to get Trae Young back. We watched him in the playoffs just kind of become a different player. So I don't think 11's too high for Trae Young. I just locked in Jason Tatum and Trae Young. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. But I'm just like, if you were at 10 there, John, would you have taken Tatum with one of your 2 picks? Or I guess, would you have taken Embiid plus someone else? Like what were the 2 names that stuck out to you there?
No, I mean, yeah. So from what you had to choose from, I think first off, you get kicked in the stomach a little bit with Durant going at 9. I think Durant is probably like the top 4 or top 5 player. But I think you got 2 of the 4 or 5 guys I want there. I mean, there's too many guys that are really highly rated right now. So I like Trae and Tatum a lot this year.
How high is it to take Zion Williamson? Like, would you take him at the 11?
Yeah, I mean, I think the argument for second round is pretty easy to make. In fact, I drafted him in the second round of a draft last year. So, yeah, he's pretty good. He puts up a lot of points.
So I just want to change the topic on you because you're on deck right now and you get 2 picks. If you get Domantas Sabonis at pick number 20, that is probably I think the Fellowship is a huge Domantas Sabonis fan. He is probably one of the best picks you can make in the second round. I could have taken him at 11 and you probably wouldn't have blinked an eye. So if you're able to collect Sabonis at this point, I'm super excited about that. But let's just go into the mind of John. Like, what's the thought process here as you pick number 20 and 21?
Yeah, no, I like Sabonis and Anthony Davis a whole lot. Anthony Davis just went, but could you imagine stacking Sabonis and Anthony Davis
with Giannis? Oh my God.
Yeah, so that would have been fun. I think right now I'm just I'm trying to build a roster a little bit still, and I always have trouble finding useful point guards if I wait too long. So I'm going to go for a little bit of a swing on the fence here, but I'm going to grab LaMelo.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't say he's. I feel like I'm maybe reaching a bit, but with Sabonis and Giannis kind of holding down the fort, I feel like I can take a risk in round 3 if I want. So, and LaMelo's a guy I want, so let me do it.
And I think the beauty of the way we set this up is you're picking first, I pick 10th. It's a 10-man league, so we're picking on the corners. I think if I had to choose my draft spot, I want one of the top 3 spots, or I'm going number 10 because I like picking on the corner because one, you always get some value to fall to you. You got Sabonis at the end of round 2. That's fantastic. And then because you're not going to pick for 19, 20 picks or whatever it is, it almost doesn't matter who you pick as long as it's somebody in that window. If you're having my number one rule for any fantasy sports is to have fun with the guys that you're going to draft. Build a team that you want to be in charge of, and taking LaMelo Ball there, you get a guy that you're super excited about and thinking he can take the next step while also collecting Sabonis as a major value. So this is just a fun way to build your draft. But I'm just curious, like round 3, like instead of LaMelo Ball, who are the next couple guys that you were potentially thinking of scooping?
Yeah, well, I think SGA is awesome. Drew Holiday is awesome. Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook. If you need some center help, you have DeAndre Ayton, Clint Capella, who are always pretty darn good. Christian Wood had a lot of points last year. Devin Booker's around. Jaylen Brown's around. John Morant. There's a lot of, especially guard talent. There's a whole lot of guard talent.
My question for you right now is, what do you do with Russell Westbrook? Like, that man single-handedly won people championships last year. I think my dad won our big championship league on the broad shoulders of Russell Westbrook, and I lost another league just because I could not compete with Russell Westbrook's like 240 points in a week. So, I mean, at what point are you thinking about Russell Westbrook? Like, what can we just you being a LeBron fan? Like, what do we expect of the Lakers this year? Like, I'm going to run Russell Westbrook in with one of these 2 picks just because he's just hard to ignore with this team, and I do think he's probably the one guy that I can get. Oh, I just missed Westbrook. I just missed on him. But just tell me what you're thinking about the Lakers and how this dream team could potentially work out.
Yeah, no, I think Westbrook is a perfect fit for LeBron. I don't know if he's a perfect fit for that roster, but I think a lot of people are talking about how the fit with LeBron. I think Westbrook is going to continue to be Russell Westbrook. I actually think you might see LeBron out of the 3 of those players in that team's big 3. I think you see LeBron kind of evolve his game the most. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to have the ball in his hands as like a primary ball handler or less. But I don't think it's going to hurt him. So, and sorry I took all your time there.
No, that's good. I kind of did a panic pick here. I picked Christian Wood just because, like, we know Christian Wood is very good at basketball. He kind of had basically just a scrap year last year of just being in and out. But when Christian Wood was in, he put up huge numbers, almost like sometimes usually over 40 to 50 points for Christian Wood. So I locked in a nice center power forward value here. I'm probably looking for a shooting guard here, Drew Holiday. Just being Bucks fans, I think that makes a lot of sense. But Dejounte Murray, he played really well for me last year. I really liked what he did. He's in command of that Spurs team. So
Kyrie too, if you need a shooting guard.
Yeah, there's tons of shooting guards here. I think just for me, I'm just gonna roll with the Bucks. I think I might have missed it. I gave me Dejounte Murray. I probably would have taken Drew Holiday there, but at that point, locking in the 4th round here, you're looking at guys like Dejounte Murray, Devin Booker, Drew Holiday, Chris Paul, Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown falls to you, I'm going to be upset. But there's just a handful of point guard shooting guards that look really, really good in the 4th round here. So I guess we'll paint it this way for you. You're going to be picking pick number 40 and 41 overall. How do you think of the guys that are available here? How would you kind of rank what's coming to you, and who do you hope falls?
Well, I see like 7 guys I like more than LaMelo Ball. So that's how I know I probably, really jumped the gun there in round 3. But based on where he was ranked, that seemed like maybe where I needed to get him. Drew Holiday I love, but I don't think he'll fall. But so just kind of scrolling down a little bit, starting, where my list might start. I love Ayton, I love Middleton, I love Jaylen Brown, I love John Morant. somehow I actually think fantasy-wise, the subtraction of Lonzo could help Brandon Ingram in New Orleans. Maybe he's a little more of a, ball in his hands, offensive creator type. Anthony Edwards year 2. I'm a big fan of the year 2 guys. So I might be, sometimes people shoot for the rookies. I might grab, I might stack LaMelo and Anthony Edwards. Now, not here, but right now I'm probably thinking about, because I'm one pick away, potentially trying to stack Jaylen Brown and Chris Middleton. There you go. So that is on the table for me.
I didn't hear you say the name Karis LeVert, but this man was a fantasy beast when he got healthy and came back. Like, you see some really strong numbers from him. We don't really the Pacers don't get a lot of publicity, but this was a really strong move that they got in the trade. I like Karis LeVert here, but I'm not going to argue with Chris Middleton here. I'll let you finish your pick here, though.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one for me. I think I'll probably go Middleton though. I like the guys with the shooting guard, small forward flexibility too. Just that kind of roster flexibility is always nice to open up, especially with your shooting guard.
Tell me some sweet things about Jaylen Brown, because last year he was one of the guys that we were all very excited to get on our team, whether it was like the 5th round. But it feels like people are kind of forgetting about him. For him to go as the 40th, 41st player off the board, it feels like you're still getting a value on him. Like, he's a potential, he could be an early 4th, 3rd round pick by the end of it.
Well, I have a lot of things I could tell you about Jaylen Brown, but 2 things come to mind. Last year, he made his first All-Star team, and for about a month last year, give or take a week, he was the number 1 fantasy point scorer, in the aggregate, just overall on the roster. It wasn't Tatum, and neither of them had, missed games at that point. So.
And I'm just looking at his box. Like, his upside is 64, 70 points. The man's probably going to put up a handful of 40-point games just in regular points this season. The Celtics are going to be, people kind of sleep on the Celtics. I think they're going to be a good team, and I think they could be a better team without Kemba Walker. You're putting the ball more into Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's hands, and I think that could be good. Also, we're probably going to be fighting for Robert Williams at some point, are we not?
In this league, yes. I think in this little draft here, I think we'll both be interested in Robert Williams. He's coming up fast, which is surprising to me, but he I don't know if he deserves to be that high, but then I guess at the same time, looking at the players available around him, he definitely deserves to be that high.
So, as I'm up to pick here, Colin Sexton makes probably the most sense out of anybody that I'm looking at. I think at this point, though, like, if you wanted a rookie, this is, especially if you have the 10th pick like I had, I'm probably not going to get Cade Cunningham back to me. So that's probably where you start thinking about the rookies. So I'm going to let this run for about 10 more seconds, and then I'll probably lock in Colin Sexton. But what's up with Pascal Siakam? What was his injury again?
Honestly, I'm not sure what he's injured with, but he, ever since the bubble, really, he's kind of been a shell of what he used to be. So he's a guy that I'm not, you need to prove it until I'm ready to put you on my team kind of guy right now.
This man was a 2nd round pick last year in fantasy draft, so that's kind of surprising to see him hanging down here in the beginning of the 6th round. Draymond Green, it's hard to trust, but it's hard to ignore his double-double numbers here. This looks like a really good pick that I can put in.
Yeah.
And I just think I'm going to take Draymond Green here, but Tyrese Halliburton's looking at me. With Draymond, I'm putting in a power forward here that I can trust. He just needs to stay healthy, and I think the Golden State Warriors' outlook this season is pretty bright. Like, this could be a fun lineup, but just look at the numbers from Draymond last season. Like, this is a pretty good, consistent clip here of some elite fantasy numbers. Like, this is probably like the 2nd or 3rd best guy on your team with these numbers. And the ability to get him in the 6th, you get Klay Thompson back, like this. That one felt pretty good. So, but we'll paint it this way for you. You're going to be up in round 7. Just let's navigate the field. Let me know what's in the mind of John here as you're getting ready to make your picks.
Yeah, well, Siakam is interesting now. I think there's at some point someone falls so much where they're a value. I'm still not totally sure what that injury is, so maybe he is expected to miss a lot of time. But Cade Cunningham looks really interesting. You brought Robert Williams to mind for me. Lowry, Halliburton, both very interesting. I do kind of need a big guy. Sabonis does get center eligibility usually, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like dying for a big guy, but I feel like I always try to stack some centers in this league. So I might take Robert Williams here if he's available.
I mean, his problem last year was he was kind of capped out at about like 25 minutes per game at the best of his of his spectrum. But when he was basically over a point per minute when he played. He's a really productive player. If we're expecting him to take a leap in just his ability and minutes this year, I mean, you're probably talking a guy that's going to average 30 to 35 points per game. So he's an exciting young pick, but I'll let you take it away here.
Yeah, no, Robert Williams is good. Just given the options at center around, Jared Allen was the only other thing I was kind of considering at that pick. So pretty happy with that, honestly. And then I'm going to go with the youngin, Cade Cunningham, probably, who I would expect to be Rookie of the Year this year.
And is it close for you? Is Jalen Suggs like even in the same like sentence, or is it clearly Cade Cunningham has the opportunity to be the best rookie and that's case closed? Like, is there any outside chance that Suggs can do some nice things in Orlando? I don't know if I like the playing time opportunity. Like, Detroit's going to play Cade Cunningham, and Jalen Suggs are still a bunch of opportunity. But I feel much better about Cade on his side. What do you think?
I do think it's kind of a chalk pick to go Cade, and he's also, I mean, he's put a lot of proof on film why he deserves to be a chalk number one pick, chalk Rookie of the Year. But any of those guys in the top four, Suggs, Jalen Green, and Evan Mobley, I think all three of them, those other three, are super, super talented. And I would not put it past any one of them to dominate a bunch of basketball games this year. So I don't think it's written in stone that Cade Cunningham wins Rookie of the Year, but I also expect him to.
So, I mean, I have a question for you. Like, we're in the middle of this, like, to the end of the 7th round. I'm starting the 7th and the 8th round here. Do you care, like, for, like, roster construction? Should I, like, I have a small forward available here. Should I, like, am I supposed to pick a small forward here, or do I just continue to take the board? Just a quick question on that, because there's a lot of guys here that I like on my lists. And it seems like most of them are small forwards, but there's some really good point guards and shooting guards available too. I'm curious about your roster construction and what you are looking for in the middle rounds.
Yeah, I think I'm just, unless I'm really hurting somewhere, I'm definitely looking to, just kind of take best player available. And positional flexibility is always a tiebreaker for me in a league like this. So always looking to stay flexible with positions, no matter what round it is, and always looking to take best player available, unless I've painted myself into a bit of a corner with like a center need or a point guard need or some shit.
So I just locked in Buddy Hield. I was telling you before the show, I really like the young Sacramento group and the starters there. But man, like this other pick that I have here. So I got the small forward. I filled my position. I have 3 utilities left to fill. But I'm struggling. Like Malcolm Brogdon, he's a great player, just never stays healthy. D'Angelo Russell, Minnesota, like that could be a lot of fun. But Kemba Walker in New York, like, do you have good feelings about Kemba? Again, he's a year removed from his big injury. Like, he played pretty well last year towards the end of the season for fantasy as well. So Kemba Walker sticks out. But OG Anunoby, I have a soft spot for OG Anunoby at the moment. So I'm going to take him. But just what do you think about New York and the Knicks with Kemba Walker? I'm pulling up the starting lineup here. You can see it here. Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and then we'll see about Mitchell Robinson. But this New York team with Kemba, what do you think?
I like it. I like the starting group a lot. I believe they're going to continue to have Rose off the bench and kind of that similar bench mob mentality that they had last year, where they were like they prided themselves on being a deep team, a deep roster. So I think they're a very competitive team in the Eastern Conference, and wouldn't be surprised if they had home court advantage again. But if everyone else is healthy in the East, they're probably team 5 or team 6.
Right. They're going to need something to bounce their way. You're up to pick right now. So your thought process, let's see what you got going on here for the round 8.
Yeah. So this was something I was kind of hoping would happen. And so I'm excited to see it brought to bear. So I got Isaiah Stewart. So I was able to partner Cade Cunningham with his big guy. And then I'm also going to take RJ Barrett. He's a guy I had last year. This is actually unfolding like the draft in our league last year. I got Jaylen Brown in the 4th round, and then I got RJ Barrett, in one of the early double-digit rounds. I feel like I've done almost the exact same thing here, and those were probably the 2 smartest picks I made in my actual fantasy draft last year. But Barrett's a guy who, after round 7, round 8, hard to go wrong for a wing.
The public perception of RJ Barrett, it's kind of cold. Last year, position ranked number 12 for small forwards, which is pretty damn good. So you're getting a guy that you probably get a round or 2 of value with him. You're never going to be like, oh man, I got to throw RJ Barrett in the lineup. The numbers look pretty good. On a low point, he'll get you 20-22, but you're going to be touching sometimes 50s. Most, often probably 30s and some 40-point games. So RJ Barrett value at this point feels really good.
Also, year 3. I mean, he's in his early 20s. In theory, the dude has a lot of upside to get better and more explosive as a scorer, and all the pieces around him are screaming for him to get better as a scorer because that's what they need. They need an elite offensive option.
And I agree. The Knicks built a pretty good ecosystem around RJ Barrett, where he doesn't have to be the guy, but he's going to be the guy at various points in throughout the season. And if he has to take a backseat to Julius Randle or someone else that's hot for that game, he'll do that. He's a good team player, and he's a good team player for your fantasy team because you just know he's going to produce, whether it's whatever stat you need. So I'm up to pick here. I'm kind of scrolling down the list here. I'm just looking around. Sadiq Bey, we're liking some of the Pistons this year. But Devontae Graham, this was a guy, his rookie season, I think, was way better than anyone anticipated. He was very productive with his team last year. And the Hornets, I think they gave up a pretty good piece of the future here with Devontae Graham. And you're going to put Graham with Zion and Brandon Ingram. This is a guy that can just run with these 2 dudes and just really create a really nice trio of starters there. So I like Devontae Graham. He's one of my second utility players. And then looking around here, you're starting to see some veterans crop up, whether it's Bledsoe or Thad Young. But again, I think I'm continuing to look for guys that are going to take that next step. I mean, I'm scrolling kind of far here, but some of the Detroit players look really fun right now. Wendell Carter Jr., you're just the Wendell Carter man, so that's an interesting.
What about a guy trying to make the first step with the number 2 pick, Jalen Green?
I was looking at that, but just us being Bucks fans and watching what happened against the Hawks and things like that. Bogdan Bogdanović, I think, is a player. He's kind of like RJ Barrett for me. He doesn't need to score a bunch of points to be productive. He's still going to be scrappy and kind of just load up on some of the other peripheral scoring options. But Bogdan, he's year 2 with this young offensive. Trae Young, Capella, John Collins is back. Or not Toronto, but Atlanta's getting everything back. I see Bogdan being able to step forward with what he's at from last year. And it just he's just a guy you want on your team as your 10th best player. So I feel pretty good about that. But Jalen Green, sell me on Jalen Green right now, because if he's not going to fall to you, but in the 10th round, why Jalen Green?
No, I mean, yeah, I think, well, in the 10th, there you go. Because it's the 10th round, Kyle, and you can do whatever the hell you want at that point. Mm-hmm. But no, Jalen Green is, to be honest, is not one of the guys I'm the highest on, but at the same time, yeah, the 10th round is a great time to start taking some lotto picks, and especially if you've filled out your roster, you feel pretty good about your starting group. You're definitely not in the need for a Band-Aid pick right away, mm-hmm. Or you feel like there's going to be something available potentially on the waiver wire for you. He's a great guy that, if one of your stars goes down mid-season, he could be available and be awesome. Mm-hmm. So,
So what are you round 10 and first pick of round 11? What's sticking out here? We're getting again to some of those older vets, but there's some young, interesting. You can get Scotty Barnes. We didn't even talk about him yet.
Yeah, Scotty B looks a lot of fun. But I think I need to take someone. Let's go with DiVincenzo. I had to rush to take a pick. Probably not the right one, but I was thinking about Killian Hayes actually. You know what? Let's get. I can't believe this guy's still on the board. Klay Thompson? Is that
a little? Yeah, I had him kind of in my back of my mind here, but Klay Thompson, round 11, like.
Wow. I'm happy.
What are we doing here? I was looking for a couple guys that were helpful for me last year, but Saddiq Bey. So I guess I wanted to ask you a question. How many players from one team on your fantasy team is too much? Like, is it like 3? Like, is that the max amount of players you want from the same team?
I'm not sure because if Killian Hayes is available, I'm taking him in the next round. And which would give me 3 Pistons. Right. I also, as a result of that mini choke I have $3 right now with DiVincenzo coming in at number 3. So I don't think it matters too much. I do like to get kind of complementary pieces. So like I intentionally targeted Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart in this draft. Having a point guard and a center, I think, is a lot more fun than having 2 wings a lot of times.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's not terrible as long as you're getting useful assets for fantasy.
This is a sneaky one for me. It's Evan Fournier. You look at what he was Orlando, Boston last year. You look at his run though to end the season last year. Like in May, the man was putting up 49, 43, 39, 66, 52. Like he's a bucket. He's a walking bucket. So he's kind of a fun piece. And I mean, the opportunity cost at this point of the draft, it's like really who cares? I was hoping Saddiq Bey would fall to me, but that was not in my cards tonight. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Evan Fournier. We've been kind of talking up the Knicks. He could be a fun piece here that helps a really good team just stay on track with the points column. But I'm fascinated to hear what you have to say about the Houston Rockets because I have a soft spot for Daniel Tice, and I know I got Christian Wood, so I'm probably not going to take him here. But Daniel Tice looks pretty interesting at this point. Jordan Clarkson, really good player and a really good team. That one wouldn't be a bad pick either. But there's one guy down here, TJ McConnell. He was an absolute monster last year. So I could take a guy like him. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and just take Killian Hayes. He's the guy here that you were just talking up a little bit ago. He was inconsistent for the most part his rookie season, but again, these second-year players, sometimes it's hard to see the opportunity for a guy to make a leap, especially when he was kind of dinged up in and out of the lineup on a bad team. But at this point, like he's not going to cost me my season if he doesn't hit. So I want to take a guy that's got this I'm going to swing for the home run with a guy like that. So, but what do you think about the Houston Rockets this year? Who's like what? I don't even know what to think about the Rockets.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be bad, but they're going to be filled with a bunch of guys that are, just going to put up a lot of stats. So, right. For fantasy, there's probably going to be 3 to 5 useful pieces on that roster at any given time. And it's going to be one of those rosters where there's probably a little bit of rotation in that fantasy, usefulness between players. So that's one of those teams that, if you're hurting throughout the season for starting capable players, you might want to be mining the Rockets a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, Kyle, I think they're going to be bad. I think they're going to be really bad.
It's going to get ugly, but again, there's going to be a lot of minutes and a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things we stress during the regular season is, it's a shit team, but guess what? That kid's going to get 33 minutes, and he's going to do some good things. He's going to do some bad things, but we care about opportunity, and that's where you start to look at some of these bad teams. But I'll let you take it away. This is your final walk-off. You have 2 picks here to make, and then we're done with the draft. So I'll let you describe what we get.
I think I'm going to go with Dylan Brooks, who I thought was really good at basketball. He's ranked like number 149 on this thing.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of going fishing like I do at the end of any kind of fantasy draft. But Dylan Brooks, they just after an insanely speed run scroll, looks like huge value. I've got 20 seconds left. Yeah, I'm in the 200s. I'm not super jazzed up. I think I might give Brandon Clark a whirl. He's a guy that I'll snag 2 Grizzlies to end the draft here. Mm-hmm. But I'll give Dylan Brooks a roll because he's a known commodity, and I like him. And he's that wing, that shooting guard, small forward. I've already told you is a position I like to stack a little bit if I can. And then Brandon Clark, I think, is a guy. So it's kind of the yin to Brooks' is yang. Brooks is, I think, super consistent and probably a pretty solid late round pick. Mm-hmm. Clark is just kind of a swing for the fences. Who knows if he even plays in basketball games this year kind of guy.
So as I get ready to take my last pick, there's a lot of fun picks here. I'm seeing some veteran guys that I wouldn't mind. Malik Beasley, I know he didn't even really play last year. He had some off-court trouble, but he's going to be a starter. He's going to play a lot of minutes in Minnesota. He sticks out to me. I don't know what to do with Ricky Rubio in Cleveland, but he's always a fun pick. But the guy that sticks out is Kyle Anderson. You're talking about a starter for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Look at some of these numbers that he's putting up. Like, sure, he's got an 11 in there, but if you're going to complain about an 11 when you're getting 26 and 41 in between it, I don't know how I can help you. So Kyle Anderson, man, and just expectations for the Grizzlies this year, like they're going to be very competitive. And I like the things that they got going around them. He seems to make a lot of sense. I could take some upside picks, whether that's a guy like Isaiah Roby or somebody like Isaac Okoro. There's some fun picks here as we get to the end of the draft. And I don't know what I want to do, but I think I'm going to just take Kyle Anderson. This one seems to be like one of those veterans. I'm just going to be glad that I took a pick. But this was fun, man. We're going to have to do a lot of these. Again, the season's roughly 30 days away. But we'll try to line up at least one of these a week. We got to get Drake involved too. But just quick thoughts on your draft. I'm going to pull up your team here. Is there anything that I guess we really can't really judge it too critically here because like it's literally our first mock draft we've done all season, but just a final shot to the people here. Like, what's a couple players that you think you need to start looking for? Some guys that you're willing to reach early on. Just what do you think of your draft here?
Yeah, well, I think I intentionally reached on LaMelo to kind of mix it up a little bit for myself, mm-hmm. and also to like show you, okay, if there's a guy you really like, and you're kind of messing with what the logic and the chalk say to do and the rankings say to do, that's what happens. But I think guys, I like the Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, and like the round 6, 7, 8, mm-hmm. The stacking those two I like a lot. I think it's a boom or bust kind of stack for sure. I'm not exactly certain what either of those is going to turn into. Somehow I was able to get RJ Barrett after both of those players, which I think is a really nice pick. Klay Thompson, obviously, if you have an IR slot, even more obvious. Dylan Brooks, he as a late round pick, I like him a lot. So I think and there was a lot of, Kyle Anderson was a guy I was looking at too. I just think there's a lot of value in the late rounds, a lot of startable players, a lot of, must roster players that somehow, get ranked 150 or below. So
who's the oldest player on your team? Is it Middleton? Is it Giannis Middleton?
Could be Clay.
Clay's probably up there, but I like what you did because you took some like well-known studs. Of course, you got the first pick, so Giannis is Giannis. But Sabonis, I think people are going to be like, holy shit, Sabonis is really freaking good this year. And then to get a guy in those second-year players, man, Lonzo Ball, Isaiah Stewart, Robert Williams. Is Robert Williams a second-year player? Was he a rookie last year?
I think he's like a third or fourth-year guy.
I took a red shirt his real rookie season. But you built some really nice just balance of veteran leadership and some fun upside picks. And it's like, especially because like we're in week 3 of the fantasy football season, the dudes you draft, like shit's gonna hit the fan, things are gonna get blown.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna have to react to it that way. So like at this point, you're swinging, especially when you get to the double-digit rounds. You're looking at rookies. You're looking at just trying to go up and hit a home run. And I feel like that we both were able to do that pretty good. So
what about you? What your roster? Tell me what you were thinking. What did you like about what you did? Where did you like maybe shit the bed a little bit?
The one pick I might reconsider is Christian Wood. I'd have to look and see who was available when I took Christian Wood. Again, it's just Houston's such a shitty team. When I did take Christian Wood, first of all, Russell Westbrook went right before me, so I was like disappointed I didn't get Westbrook. But I ended up with Dejounte Murray. But the potential with me taking Christian Wood, I'm passing on Devin Booker, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, Drew Holiday, Zach LaVine. Those are some big names. So that's one area where I would probably reconsider it. I'd maybe let Christian Wood fall a little bit in the draft. But I really like I think I got some good scores on this team. Trae Young, Dejounte Murray, I think is going to be a household name this season. Buddy Hield, people like, he's still pretty young and he's just kind of does really, really well and nobody really talks about him. And he seems to be like a staple of a fantasy lineup here where you can just expect 30 to 40 points a week. Jason Tatum, again, we're expecting him to take another step forward. And I think the absence of Kemba could really just put some more shine on Jaylen and Jason Tatum here. But Colin Sexton fell pretty late. Draymond Green was probably one of my favorite picks, especially looking at some of those numbers that he put up at the end of last season. And then just getting some dependable guys, whether it's Bogdan and Evan Fournier. I know those are 2 older guys, but I know what I'm getting with them. And then I'm also mixing in some upside picks, whether it's Hayes or it's Devontae Graham. So it's kind of just a blend of a bunch of good things. But I trust it. And again, like 2 weeks into the season, you're going to be scrapping for probably some guys that you had no idea existed. So it's just kind of fun to just design something that may or may not work, but hey, you're going to have fun doing it as long as you pick players you like. But I don't know, man, any final thoughts here before we get out of here for tonight?
This was a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing more with you. Fantasy basketball is here and it doesn't feel right, but it also feels very right at the same time.
Well, I thought last season with the first day, Christmas Day, 72-game season, I thought the NBA would maybe consider like, hey, like we get Christmas Day. I think the players probably liked it a little bit more too. They got to just chill a little bit more. And then the other thing too is we had fantasy, like the championship, NBA championship was like in mid-July. Like July basketball was a lot of fun. So I'm kind of upset that the schedule is kind of back to normal at the moment, but we got football and basketball, big overlap. We'll get more into it probably after Christmas, but I don't know. We'll get to some mock drafts and some things. I don't know. We have to talk about when we want to do a live show. We might have to wait on that a little bit, but I don't know, man. Any final thoughts?
No, basketball starts soon. Good luck with your mocks and good luck with your drafts, and we'll see you again pretty soon as well.
Yeah, and if you guys have watched from last year, we're trying to get Drake to hang out with us one night, and maybe next week we'll put out a couple other ones. I'm probably going to try to just upload a mock or two when I can, a solo mock, just to get some more names. But I think the mock drafts that we did last year, they kind of got us. If they got us ready, they're going to get the viewers ready. So I think we're doing something pretty good here. So I just want to say thank you guys for your time. Thank you, John, for hanging out, and have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you need. Peace.